This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Welcome to the Row 1, Seat 1 podcast. This is Ben, a.k.a. Boston Nuga. Another fun week, ready for SCI weekend in a couple weeks. Just getting ready for 16 competitors to come to my home city of Chattanooga. We're really excited about it, and one of those competitors will be on the show this week, the ACEGAWD Arik Royal. It should be a really fun show. Give it a listen when you get a chance. A little bit about Place to Be Nation. Check out the Place to Be Nation wrestling store. Show off your favorite podcast logo and great merchandise like t-shirts, hoodies, and more. Go to tpublic.com and type in PTBW in the search. On the network, Scott, Nate, and Steve return to the newest main event as they preview a big weekend wrestling with a Slammiversary and Money in the Bank. The newest highway to the Impact Zone is Logan and the gang recapping the 218 and 225 04 episodes of Impact. Ben Locke's Chicken Salad has saucy with shoot comments as he gets go back to the beach 2000. Gurney and Cook are back with Extreme Resurrection. On the Mothership, the Place to Be Podcast 581, Scott and JR Cineo DeMarto head to Indianapolis for WrestleMania 8. Please rate, review, and subscribe. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Search Place to Be Network. Check out the Quad of Pods, the Pop Experience with pop culture, TV, movies, comics, trivia shows, and more. Jennifer Smith is in the Jenny position. GT Rosero, Aaron, George, and Chad Campbell are on the North-South Connection feed. And Glenn and Scott Butler on the Non-Toxic Fanboys podcast. They are at nontoxicfanboys.com. Join the Rejuvenated Place to Be discussion group on Facebook. Go to Facebook, look up Place to Be, and request an invite. Discussions and fun with wrestling, movies, tournaments, and all forms of pop culture. Our stretch project determines the greatest NWA, WCW wrestler of all time. Go to facebook.com/GWCW and join this group to discuss nominees. Go to placetobenation.com each and every day. There's all sorts of fun on there. If you're doing shopping on Amazon, be sure to click out the banner on the right side of Place to Be Nation's homepage or use placetobenation.com/Amazon. Takes you right to Amazon, helps us out with no cost to you. Now coming on the show, the ACEGAWD Arik Royal, Action Wrestling Champion, SCI participant, an all-around hell of a guy. So enjoy the show. We are here with the ACEGAWD himself, Arik Royal. I'm really excited about this show, man. This is a dude I've been wanting to talk to for a while, and I finally have him on the show. And man, he is ruling the South right now and killing it everywhere. And I'm so happy for this dude, so proud of this dude. Arik, welcome to the show, man.
Well, Benjamin, it is a pleasure. It is a pleasure to be here.
Using the government name already, dear Lord.
As your Action Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, it is a pleasure to be here. Ace Guy's got a real busy schedule. He's got places to be next week. He's got a big week coming up ahead of him, and he figured that he would give a little bit of his time to you this time.
I appreciate it, and you can't see Arik right now, but literally the man has the Action Championship strapped across his shoulder as we speak. I don't know if it ever leaves your body, frankly. Do you go to grocery stores with it? Do you go to the gym with it? Is it like a Tim Sylvia UFC situation where he walks into the mall with it? How often do you wear it?
Well, see, when the Ace Guy works out in his private gymnasium, and if you've seen on the Twitter machine, you'll see some of Ace Guy's workouts.
Never on Twitter.
He has the Action Wrestling Heavyweight Championship in that room just to give him that extra push and that motivation to be the best champion that Action Wrestling has ever seen.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Arik, you are a Cali guy. First and foremost, bloodlines, bleeding purple and gold.
Right.
I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to talk about Kobe.
Oh, so you want me to cry at the end?
I want you. Well, here's so we're friends.
and you know from whence I come.
I do.
You know my perspective on this. And here's the thing. I respect Kobe. He stole a championship from us, and I'm not real pleased about it.
Okay.
We should have had that 2010 one in the bag. But I'm gonna let you talk about the Lakers because you're my friend.
So you say that you had the 2010 championship in the bag.
Man shot 6 for 22 from the field.
The ace guy can make an argument for the 2008 championship. But the only difference is, y'all got us. Y'all got the Lakers because that game 6, you beat the ever-loving dog crap out of us.
We did.
32 points. It was a massacre.
I literally have it framed on my wall in my bedroom.
It hurt me. It hurt the ace guy very, very bad. It hurt him so much. But ace guy took his lead from his leader. And that's Kobe. Kobe took that loss and he used it as fuel going into the Olympics that year. The Redeem team did their thing and Kobe carried that momentum into the next season where the Lakers went back to the championship.
I'm aware.
And it was supposed to be a rematch. But Boston, they weren't fully healthy. They just couldn't get there. And then, LeBron, it was his chance. Once Boston got eliminated, they were like, oh, this is LeBron's time. And Dwight Howard in Orlando said, nah, man, we got this. And when Orlando made it to the finals,
he did not got this.
I knew. I was like, okay, the Lakers going to get this one. Lakers cannot lose to Orlando. We just got the better team.
If you remember, Rashard Lewis and Hedo Turkoglu got very rich off that series.
Oh, yeah.
Very rich.
Props to Rashard because he ended up getting the championship later on anyway for Miami. So,
and he got $150 million in the meantime.
He did. And Ray Allen took his spot on that team. But yeah, 2010 we went back, Lakers went back, and it was the rematch, and I knew Kobe is not going to let this happen to him again. And it was exactly how the series should have played out. 7 games between the two franchises in NBA basketball history. Both with the most championships in history. Boston at the time, 17. The Lakers at the time, 15.
Mm-hmm.
That would get us the Flair status. That championship. So you got to think about the stakes that were had. The Lakers were going on their quest to be the Flairs of the NBA, 16-time world champions, and who better to do it against than their rivals? And I mean, we look at last season, and Ric Flair literally welcomed the Lakers on the court. So, and everybody thought this last season in the bubble, it was going to be Lakers Celtics again.
So close, man. So close.
But Miami was just hot at the time.
They were a buzzsaw. They were
playing the right, good basketball at the right time. And then they ran into LeBron and
we can talk about basketball all the time, but man, so you're a Southern California guy. You grew up where in Southern California?
I grew up in a town called Moreno Valley, California. He made his way down to the Southern Cali. He started off in Alameda, Oakland, Alameda area. And then he was about 9 years old. He made his way down to Southern Cal to a little town called Paris, California, then migrated to Moreno Valley. And that's where, if you don't know, Kawhi Leonard is also from that same town. So
fascinating.
That championship caliber comes from that town, that little town, Moreno Valley. You have Kawhi Leonard, Finals MVP, NBA champion. You have your ace god. Just the 149 days as your Action Wrestling Heavyweight Champion.
Not that we're keeping count.
Second longest reigning Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion. 3-time Johnny Weaver Cup champion. the list goes on and on. So we just breed winners out there.
So Dodger fan, I take it?
Thank blue through and through.
Hey, y'all just winning this year, man.
Got to, man. But I will say the division is tough. The Padres are playing real good. The Giants are hanging around in there. Just we had a lot of guys out before the All-Star break, and like the Dodgers, especially when I was younger, the Ace guy was younger. The Dodgers would always play good going into the All-Star break, and then right after the All-Star break, they would slump. But lately, they have broken that. And we've gotten to the championship a few times. We lost to some cheaters one time. And then,
getting them barrels.
Yeah. And then, the Red Sox, they whooped our tails.
That was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. And then we go back to the playoffs and we play the Nationals and we're like, and the Nationals, they got us. And luckily, they took care of business and they won the championship because if somebody's going to beat the Dodgers and they go, I'd rather them, win.
The champs, yeah.
Especially against the Astros.
So let's switch from sports to wrestling here. Growing up in Southern California, when do you fall in love with wrestling? When does that love affair start?
I would say when the Ace God fell in love with wrestling, because he watched it off and on as a child. I mean, come on. Ultimate Warrior, then later on you find out how your type of person he was. Bret the Hitman Hart, Macho Man, just the colorfulness of the WWF. And growing up in Southern California, that's what was predominantly out there was WWF. So that's what the Ace God watched as a kid. Shawn Michaels, obviously. Diesel, Razor Ramon, Ace God grew up on that era. It was weird because that was the, 93, 94, 95 era. And that was, what people, you look back nowadays, it's the down years for the WWF. But, as a young Ace God, trying to prove, trying to, figure out what he was going to do when he got older, he fell in love with professional wrestling, and it was WWF that caught his attention. And then later on, he found out about WCW Saturday Night, and he would start watching that. It was like,
605.
What's wrestling on all day Saturday? I can live with that. So started watching that, and then Nitro came about, and like I said, as a young Ace God, I was right in the trenches for the Monday Night War, and Ace God loved it. He would record one downstairs and be upstairs and watching the other.
You're living the life we all lived, man. You just that clicker finger got real tired, didn't it?
Yeah.
So you took a different path than a lot of us did, and you decided to serve in our military right out of school.
Yes.
Talk to us about that experience. You entered the Air Force right out of high school. First of all, thank you. Second of all, talk about that experience and how it shaped you as a man, as a citizen, and eventually as a wrestler as well.
Well, the military experience is, I would say, it's not for everybody, and of course, it's doing my due diligence as a American, regardless of these times that are going on now. Just doing what my family did. The Ace guy came from a family of military veterans, so just following in the footsteps of his grandfathers and his uncles and aunts and parents. It was military and education. That's where the Ace God. That's the branches of occupations that the Ace God came from. So
not a bad foundation.
It helps mold the Ace. It helps mold me, I would say, because it taught me discipline. But I will say this: I kind of learned that a little bit later than I should have. Instead of learning it while I was in, I kind of learned that when I got out, because I started wrestling, and like that helped me. If I knew that if I wanted to be great and be successful and be in high regard, and considered in high regard as far as wrestlers, and being easy to work with and being sought out to work with, I knew that I had to be more disciplined when it comes to my regimen, as far as my workouts, my eating habits, being dedicated to the sport. And being in the military helped me, like I said, after the fact, learn how to do that. And just you work hard, you get rewarded. That's how that's how I grew up. You work hard, you bust your ass on something, you're passionate about something, you get rewarded. That's how it was when the ACEGAWD played football. ACEGAWD wouldn't say he was the best offensive lineman, but he worked hard in practice, and he worked hard on the field, so he got an opportunity to start. And once he got that opportunity, he took the figurative ball and ran with it, because I obviously did not run with it because I was a lineman. I was always taught as a child, and growing up, if you want something, you work towards it. You gotta put the work in. And going back to Kobe a little bit, is having that Mamba mentality. When you want something hard, bad enough, then you'll dedicate your time and to perfecting that craft. So that's what helped me with the military. I also met with one of my best friends, who I still talk to this day. I met him in the military, and we bonded off of wrestling. It was literally off of wrestling. He moved there, and me and another friend of mine, we welcomed him, and he's like, we helped him move in, and then he's like, hey man, you guys want to come hang out? And we're in the dorm room, and he's showing us the DVD collection, because this is 2004.
Of course,
everything wasn't streamed, kids. DVD collection, and he had wrestling DVDs up the yin yang, a bunch of WWF, DVDs, and I was like, well, you watch wrestling? Yeah. And then come to find out, he grew up in Memphis, which is 2 hours away, and they were but the next week we watched Raw, and then the rest, that's how the friendship grew.
And that's the thing. If you met someone with wrestling DVDs in their collection in the mid-2000s, you had a friend for life.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I had some too, so it was like, oh man, I ain't got that one, let me borrow it. All right, let me borrow that one. Boom. And it's like, we lived right around the corner. It was like walking distance. So I was like, hey man, here's a DVD, and there it was, man. So, and that was also during the days of, people think of Netflix, people only know Netflix as a streaming service.
Oh no, my grandma had it mailed to her.
Yes.
Yep.
A friend of mine, shout out to Andre T, used to get them mailed to him, and he was doing his thing out there, man. We'd watch all the movies. But yeah, man, I got this one coming, and then, they got this one? Yeah. Oh, go ahead and get it. And then,
yeah, my grandma lived with us basically half my teenage years, and all through high school and stuff. And she knew about Netflix 10 years before all the rest of us knew about Netflix. So she was getting movies mailed to her the whole time. And I'm like, Grandma, you 10 years ahead of the curve here, damn it.
Yeah, it was.
All right, so then from there, you went from California to being stationed. You were stationed in Mississippi, right?
Stationed in Columbus, Mississippi. So
ooh, the hub.
That is, back then everybody was, when you say, oh, I'm going to Mississippi, they would think Keesler Air Force Base, which is over down there by New Orleans. And I was like, no. This is Columbus. They're like, where? And then when people would say that, it would just hurt my heart so bad because it's like, man, I'm really going to the middle of nowhere. And you get there, and like I said, you find out you're 45 minutes from Tuscaloosa. But this is before Alabama. This is right before they started, becoming the
lean period.
This is right before that. So you're 45 minutes from Tuscaloosa. You're 25 minutes from Starkville, Mississippi State, and they weren't good back then.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's nothing to do in Starkville, literally nothing. And so, you're 45, or you're about an hour and a half from Birmingham. So you want to go do something, you can go out there to Birmingham if you wanted to. And then, you're also 2 hours away from, Memphis. And 45 minutes away from Tupelo. So, you want to go do something, you can go to Memphis as well. But as far as doing anything in Columbus, there wasn't a whole lot of stuff to do. and that's what the ACEGAWD did. He ate, and he ate a little bit too much, and he gained a lot of weight, and that was his downfall. That was the thing, being right out of high school, going in and living on your own right away, and it's like, oh man, I don't, I'm on a regiment, but I really ain't nobody really here to tell me, what to do, and then you find out, being an adult, you got to pay the consequences. You weren't working out like you were supposed to. Well, now guess what? Well, you gotta get discharged, and so. You learn then that's why I say I learned my lesson, as far as you gotta be, if you want to do something, you gotta be disciplined, you gotta put that work in, especially even when nobody's watching, you gotta put that work in and hold yourself accountable. Because nobody's gonna hold you accountable because, especially in wrestling, guys are always trying to, look for the next spot or try to get that spot before you so everybody's always, so they're not gonna be like, oh man, no, you gotta get together. They're looking out for themselves too.
All the fish bite with the same bait.
Yeah, it's very rare that people are looking out for others, and that's one thing I've always tried to do. Is look out for others while also looking out for myself too. So, because you want to see people succeed, especially if the people around you are working hard and you see that they're working hard. Why wouldn't you want to see them succeed or get an opportunity? So, the ACEGAWD, he was at TWE a couple weeks ago, and
never heard of it.
Yeah, he. And it's funny because I had a guy one of my trainees. He came with me, and he, always bring your stuff. You never know. An opportunity popped up for him, and he didn't you always go in, you're kind of nervous, especially going somewhere where the talent level is a little bit more above than what you're normal to, what you're normal to, what you're used to. And, so being in front of a new crowd and, actually getting to do the things that you've practiced, being able to be a part of that experience for somebody and for them to, enjoy that experience and then just, it makes you feel accomplished too. And it's like, okay, I want to do the next thing for you or try to get you here or try to do that because you're not going to get better. You are going to get better, but you're not going to get, the experience you need if you're not getting the reps on these shows.
I always see you with a car full of younger guys just trying to get them opportunities, and I really respect that about you because you're always trying to help people out, and that's that's really admirable about you. It really is because you've seen it and done it, and now you want to show others how to see it and do it.
Yeah, and do it the right way too. That's another thing because people like to take shortcuts, especially nowadays. They like to take shortcuts and. There's still guys out there and there's a lot of young guys out there that I'll go to these shows and I see them on social media and I see how hard they work and I see the effort that they put in and they I commend that. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how you're supposed to, get your opportunities, is that, working hard and grinding. And I'm glad like other promotions are noticing those young guys and giving them opportunities. And so now it's just time. I feel like it's time for the ACEGAWD to get some of those opportunities as well.
You're starting to get them. So let's talk about how your career kicked off. You moved to North Carolina after the military, and it's a very fertile ground for wrestling, and a lot of history there, a lot of wrestling royalty there, and you decided to embark on a career in this wonderful sport of professional wrestling. Talk about that.
Well, yeah. So when the ACEGAWD made his way to the Tar Heel State, there was a pay-per-view done by the World Wrestling Entertainment, who's actually holding a pay-per-view right now. But there was a pay-per-view that was being held in Charlotte, and where I was living at was a couple hours away from Charlotte. So I decided before I left Mississippi, and my brothers were living out here, so my brothers and my mom and my stepdad and his grandmother. So I came out here, and the first thing I did was take my brothers to Vengeance 2006, which was the DX reunion against the Spirit Squad. So I was there for that, and I'm standing in line, and I'm just, feeling the buzz of the people around, and, pay-per-view's about to start, and then, this is when our Truth was still in TNA. So, but he lived in Charlotte, so he came through there, walking through the crowd, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. And I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna pull the trigger on this dream, I'm gonna do it. And if I have to drive out to Charlotte, which is 2 hours away from me, to do it, then I was gonna do it. And some guy overheard me saying that, and he was telling me, he was like, he asked me where I lived at, and I said, I live in Burlington. And he said, Burlington, they got a wrestling in Burlington, and I'm like, first of all, the ACEGAWD landed in little old Burlington, North Carolina, so that's definitely a culture shock for.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a second. Yeah, because you went from California essentially to Burlington, North Carolina. It's night and day, brother.
Definitely night and day. I mean, even going from California to Columbus, Mississippi was night and day. But and so as soon as ACEGAWD got home and went on the interwebs, and he looked up CWF Mid-Atlantic, and sure enough, there was a video there of Rick Converse winning the AWA championship. And a lot of times when you hear about indie promotions or somebody's putting over promotion, you always think of the worst. Like I've seen, you think of like some
Oh, we've all seen them. The shindies.
Yeah, So, like going in, I was like, man, I hope this stuff is decent. Cause like I've been to some places where it was like, it's not where I would want to, train at or whatever. Like I just don't know about it. So, going into that. And so, I'm looking at the video and I'm like, the production is good and the wrestling is actually good. Like these guys can actually wrestle and they're doing cool stuff, and like I was like, okay, maybe and that's what caught my eye. And there was a clip of I want to say there was a clip of Steve Corino in there as well, wrestling Rick Converse. So I was like, oh, Steve Corino, that's cool. I didn't know he was out here. Watching. I grew up watching ECW as well, and then there was another clip of, I want to say Jeff Hardy came out and gave this, I think he gave, it was Brad Stutz, gave him a twist of fate. And I was like, the Hardys? I was like, what? The Hardys are here? And as soon as I saw it, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go check this place out. And I emailed the trainer, the head trainer, which is a Gemini kid, Coach Gemini, Jeff Rudd. And I was supposed to meet him the first time in 2006, and push comes to shove, that was back in these kids, they never knew the MapQuest, and that's back in the days of the MapQuest. So,
Oh, I remember the MapQuest, my friend.
we could not just put the address on our phones and find places. We had to go on the computer.
60% of the time, MapQuest worked all the time.
Do all that. So, I did that, got lost, and I did it that day, got lost, so I never met, Jeff. So, and then I felt so bad about it because it's like, man, I just wasted this dude's time, this email. Like, he's probably thinking I'm some, loser wasting his time, another guy wasting his time, whatever, and came up there. And so, like, felt really bad about it because it was something I really wanted to do. I was really serious about it. And at the time, ACEGAWD was, he was down on his luck, man. He had to work a job. He had to work a third shift job.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was rough. And finally he found something different that would open it up for him to train. And as soon as he got that other opportunity, he emailed him again. And this time he went the day before, found the place, and then
scouted it.
That, and then it was easier than I thought. And then the next day we went up there, and the rest is history. And that was early April 2008. Went up there, spoke to Jeff, and he was, the one thing I'll say was about them was that he was completely honest with me. He didn't try to give me the run around. Oh man, I can make you $1 million, or you can be whatever. He was like, man, this business will take more from you than you put in. But if it's something you really want to do, then, I will help you to as much as you allow me to help you. And, yeah, and I told him, it was like, whatever you teach me, I'm here to learn because I want to be the best, performer, the best wrestler that I can possibly be. And, he told me about there was a show the next week, in Greensboro, and, that's where I met, most of the locker room. First person I met was Nick Richards, and then, I met, Drew, and, a couple other guys, Chase Dakota, Matt Smith, Rudy Lewis, and I helped set up the ring and watched the show. It got rained out because there was a storm, and then the storm let up, and then we finished the show and took the ring down, and didn't have practice that Sunday because the ring was wet. But the next week I went to training, and and here we are. So
13 years later, man.
13 years later, and pretty much and it's not been, take a year off or take 6 months off. It's been pretty consistent for 13 years. There may be a couple weeks that ACEGAWD is not wrestling because he needs to take care of his body and rest and relax. So, but for the most part, besides the pandemic that we had and are currently still going through, people tend to forget that we're still going through a pandemic. But yeah, that was probably the longest time that since I started wrestling that I have not wrestled. And I wrestled, so, the pandemic started. I wrestled the day before, the 2020 Rumble. So that day, that was a rough day for me, just in general, because that's when, we found out about Kobe, and, yeah, anyway, that was a rough day. And then you got that, and then come to find out, we're shutting the country down because we have a pandemic. So
I think that was all around the same time, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I just made my debut. ACEGAWD just made his debut at AML Wrestling against Billy Brash, and then pandemic hit. So it's like, oh man, Ace Guy's in a new promotion. He's there. He's going to try to make a name for himself and get his foot in the door and try to make some waves there. And then boom, pandemic. And, it was hard. Like, it was hard because, couldn't really, you probably could work out, but, just a lot of other things were going on. And, he just finally was like, look, well, I gotta stay active and stay in shape. And, actually one of my trainees, Snooty Fox, he hit me up and he was like, hey man, I'm buying this ring. I would like for you to come up and help train me and help train, I'm trying to start, my own training school, so to speak. I want you to be the head trainer. And, we discussed it and, totally fine with everything. And because I knew I was like, I got to get back in the ring. I got to get back in shape. I got to keep myself ahead of the game. So, I'd say the summer, late spring, early summer of last year, we finally got back in the ring and got to rolling. And then, I did a show out in Greenville, North Carolina for a 4th of July type show. And then, get a call or get a message from, Mikey from Black Label and was like, hey, are you available this date? And I'm like, yeah. And just give him the match. And, I was like, well, it's a big opportunity to get back in the ring. And especially,
I remember seeing you up there.
Yeah, man, especially with somebody like AJ Gray, who's, doing big, that's the thing I'm talking about earlier, guys that have been busting their ass, to get out here and make a name for themselves. And AJ's found his niche, not only with just the wrestling, now he's doing the deathmatch stuff and he's found his niche there, but, he's going against a guy with that much momentum. And, I felt the match was okay, but I always
I loved it.
I always feel like deep down, I could have did a little bit better. I could have done better. I could have done some things different. But that atmosphere to be back in front of, a crowd, especially, trying to be in somewhere Black Label where, they're a popular promotion and, Ace Guy was, trying to get there since, they first started and, thankful for that opportunity and looking forward to go back up there and putting the Ace God stamp, like he did on Action and like I've done, the other places, putting my stamp, on a promotion and making my mark there. So, and I knew right then after that match, I said to myself that, all right, I need to turn it up a notch when it comes to this training. And I feel like, I'm always trying to be the person to lead by example. So if I'm working hard and busting my ass at training, like people should follow suit, cause like, I don't want to be here to waste our time. We're here to get better. So, that really put a fire under me. And then, Matt Action hit up the Ace God and said, we're gonna get rolling again. And, one thing leads to another and, Ace God makes history.
You're holding that belt, brother.
Yeah.
So talk about places you made your stamp. CWF, was a home for you for a very long time. And, one person that you really solidified, we were talking a little bit earlier, you said you don't remember how many matches you had with this guy, was Trevor Lee, Cameron Grimes. Talk about the impact that Trevor Lee had on your career and really, about those early days of CWF and kind of how you guys came up together as well, because I think a lot of people will be interested to hear about kind of your upbringing with Cameron Grimes, Trevor Lee.
Well, I've known, Ace God has known Trevor Lee, Cameron Grimes since he was like 14, 15 years old, man. It's crazy to see. It's crazy to see how much people can mature, over the years and grow up. And like the matches that we've had, like, you know, you spoke about that. And I mean, the first time I ever was in a ring with him, it was me and Chiva Kid, Andrew Everett now, against Trevor and his partner at the time. And, you know, it was for a birthday party, but the birthday party, like, they wanted to have, like, actual good wrestling. And this is only a year in. Mm-hmm. And, you know, at training, me and Chiva, me and Drew, we had chemistry already. And so this was like our first time really tagging, like in a tag match. And we went out there and like we exceeded people's expectations because, you know, at the time ACEGAWD had only been wrestling for a year. You know, I think like he had only had a few matches under his belt at this time. You know, and then you know, Trevor's 15, 16 years old, and he's only been wrestling a couple of years. And Drew's, you know, the same age, and he's only been wrestling a couple of years. And then Trevor's partner's only been wrestling a couple of years. So, you know, just to go out there and exceed people's expectations and have a good match and have that chemistry, I think we knew something was there. And then we started doing student shows. People that started doing student shows. They were called Project X. And, you know, Trevor came to those and like pretty much from that point on in 2009, you know, he was here, he was right there, you know, with myself. He was right there with Andrew Everett. He was right there with, you know, Nick Richards when he would come. He was right there with, Roy Wilkins, like he was right there at training with all of us every time, you know, like his dad would go out of his way to bring him up there and he would literally stay up here like weeks at a time and come to train, you know, come train and be around people that, you know, cause he could have easily, like, if these people weren't going to make him better, he could have easily like left and went somewhere else. But he knew that, okay, these people are going to make me better and try to make me the best person that I can be. And that was, you know, the whole thing. Like, he pushed me to be the best wrestler that I can be and try to be a good, you know, let's say like a good like role model, but like positive, like almost like older brother type influence, but somebody there for, you know, for somebody to call them out on, you know, if they're, you know, doing good or if they're doing bad. And that's just like we held each other accountable. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing. We held each other accountable. Like, if we knew we knew we could do better, we would let each other know, all right, you can do better than that. Or, come on, man, you can do it. Like, you got that, you know? And, you know, it would show every time we step in the ring for shows. It's like, oh, these guys are really getting it and they're getting better. And then you have, you know, the vets, some of the vets in the locker room. Now there's like, oh yeah, I want to work with this guy. I want to work with this guy because I know like we can have good matches and tell good stories, you know. And so, you know, like I said, like, you know, guys like Roy Wilkins, guys like Trevor Lee, myself, Drew, Nick, and then, you know, after that you had Ethan come along, and then you had like Chet come along, and, you know, you like even Ray Kendrick before, you know, he retired, he would come up there and come train. So we had a lot of guys at the time that would come in there and push each other to make each other better. And, you know, I just try to pass that along, you know, just trying to do that now. Like, if, you know, like the guys that train with me, you know, you know, for anything that they do, I expect them to do their best, you know, and expect the best out of them, you know, because I know they can do better because they're here and they want to do better. So if you want to do better, you can do better. You just have to put that effort. It's hard. It's hard. I saw the Phoenix coach say, you know, your goals is right on the other side of hard. And that's, you know, you just gotta have that more of a mental strength and the mental toughness to reach those goals. And like things aren't easy, and and that's what made us passionate. Like I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I've butted heads with Brad plenty of times, but it's over. Like we both were passionate. Like
Yeah, you both love it. Yeah.
me and Brad were passionate. Trevor and Brad were like we're passionate about what we're doing, and we'd always see eye to eye, but it was always our goal was always to make the product the best product.
Yeah.
I think that was another thing too. A lot of people, like a lot of the locker room there, the CWF, they were about making the product better as a whole. And if everybody there, everybody there is like fill their role, everybody there go out there and give their best effort and do that, then we're gonna put on consistently good shows. And like that's what the whole goal was. And for a long time that like we were successful in that. And people were sacrificing their time and to come up there and just because they wanted to be a part of it. So that should tell you as how special that place was.
You guys were putting on really great shows for a really long time. I caught on about 2016 or so, and we're watching you guys online about a weekly basis or so. We came up once or twice, and it was just it seemed like a magical place. It seemed like a place where it seemed like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, basically, of professional wrestling. It just seemed like this magical place where wrestling happened, and just it's a very organic sort of thing. And talk about that phase, especially towards the last couple of years when you guys really had some cool buzz going, and had some a lot of national popularity and things like that, because you guys had a lot of people talking about you for a really long time.
Well, I would say it all started at National Pro Wrestling Day 2013, the first National Pro Wrestling. We were on the first show. It was myself and Chiva taking on Rick Converse and Trevor, and I feel like we were probably the least known people there. Like out of everybody there, we were the least known. Oh, for sure. Maybe like the Chivas were known like as the group or as like the characters. They were probably the most known out of the match. And maybe Rick at the time. But I just remember, like I said, about making CWF as the product as the whole, elevating that. Like that match, everybody was on the same page. We all knew we had to go out here and put CWF on the map and make a name for the company that we work for and that we sacrifice our time for and try to make great. And so, that was another thing about the industry. Like everybody was on the same page. Nobody had their own little agendas or anything like that. We're all about the product and as a whole. And not only that, but if you go back and watch that match, or if you can find it, we told a story. We continued telling a story based off of that tag match. We told a whole story based off of that. And going into it, everything that we did just fit well and made sense. And then the crescendo with Chiva doing the double moonsault and the crowd going crazy because at the time, I think Ricochet was probably the only person doing it. And then Drew busted out. Crowd's going nuts. We're on an emotional high. Everybody, we go back there, we're crying, we're hugging, we did it. It's very cool. And then, come to find out, Trevor broke his jaw. So, that moment right there just got taken away because, it's like, dang, man, one of our teammates got jacked up. And it's funny because we talk about Trevor again. So had his jaw wired shut. And,
through the wire, through the
yeah,
limit.
yeah, Kanye for real. And
Yeah.
I remember coming to training, like he got him wired shut, go to the next training, and, he couldn't do anything. But he was there. And that's another thing. Like, he didn't have to be there.
That's commitment.
He could have been at home just resting up, chilling.
Mm-hmm.
But he came to training just to watch.
That's commitment.
And you can tell, like, I forgot who was in there, but somebody wasn't doing something right. And you could just tell by the look on his face how bad he wanted to get back in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, like, it's crazy to say, it's like, but I knew in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, once he's cleared, it's a wrap. He's coming back with a vengeance. And I mean, he already had went in there, before he was cleared anyway, like a week before he was cleared. But that's also like, like I said, he had sat and observed, and I was like, I can do this, that, and the other. When he was cleared, now, I mean, he got cleared, and now look, like that's literally what, part of the thing that drove him to that, drove him to where he's at now. So, like stuff like that, you see that, it's like, okay, if he's out here, there's no excuse. He's out here with a broken jaw out here at training, trying to get better. There's no excuse for anybody else. There's no excuse for me if I'm tired, not to come to training. At least come and show up and show my face and help out. At least make my presence felt in that capacity. But yeah, it's just it was a team. It was always like it was for the most part. It was always trying to be a team effort. It was always trying to make the product as CWF as the product one of the best products. And guys were getting over due to that. It wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, for a while, when Trevor won the title, he was the focal point, but people also gravitated to other characters. People saw my transition from being the big baby face to where I'm at now. People saw that. So I wish some people would have seen the beginning, like that those first Sportatorium years of 2012 on. But the whole goal was to get more eyes on the product, and we did that. We did that. People may have came to see the Killbillies, or they may have came to see Trevor, or they may have came to see Nick, or they may have came to see the All Stars, or may have came to see me at the time before I was with the All Stars, or or Rick would come in, or when Brad would come in, Brad Attitude. So it was like people were coming to see the stories. They were taking the time out of their night, out of their day to watch some good old fashioned storytelling with a new school twist to the wrestling, and I it was like it was the best 11, some of the best 11 years that I had in my life, man. And I wouldn't, of course there's things I would change, but, for the most part, I wouldn't change anything. Like, I've had good memories there. I got to, the last event we had, I got to be in the last event that we've ever had with one of my closest friends and one of the people that helped train me in Roy Wilkins, and, get to tell that story. And yeah, man, it's the memories and the moments that, I made there. And, I say we because it was like, I've met a lot of a lot of people that I'm close to now. I grew with them based off of just the time that we spent together at the building training, at shows, hanging out after shows, things like that. We grew and gravitated towards each other, and now, even looking back 2 years ago to now, how much the people that I'm close to have grown as beings. And that is, more than anything, like the wrestling part, that's the thing I'm proud of the most, is the people that have grown that way, in that capacity, because that's what matters more than anything, is just being a good person, and versus, like the wrestling will come and go, but people, you want to be remembered. Not only if you want to be remembered for being a great wrestler, but you want to be remembered being even more for the person that you were.
Yeah, that's what I get the most out of wrestling is the relationships more than anything, and like that's what you can pull from this little crazy world. That's the most important thing in my opinion too. So I completely believe that. Do you wish it was still around, or was it time?
You know what? I'm probably gonna be. This probably is not gonna be the popular answer, but it was definitely time.
Sure. Okay.
It was definitely time. Just everything that had built up to the point, and just talking to, people and like, especially like, Jeff and Danny, like, it burnt out, man. Like running, like, you gotta think about this too. 20 years.
Yeah.
They ran wrestling shows. 20 years they were running shows sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week.
Shoo.
Then, later on comes on, you start doing a weekly YouTube program. And, so it's just, you start delegating things that way. And then, things slip under the cracks and you don't know how does this get there and how does that get there. And just, it boils over after a certain amount of time. And people can only, you stress so much. So I feel like it was definitely time, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I would say about it is the people that were there and the people that still claim to represent CWF, if you're going to do it the right way.
Sure.
Do it the right way, because a lot of times, like, people are like go through things which, they feel like this is the message that they got, but this is not the message that the message that was being delivered wasn't the message that they received. So, if you're going to go out here and say you're representing the CWF, then, do it the right way. Because when I think of CWF, I think about the time that I put in, like 3 days a week, training, like working, then going from work to the train, and then vice versa, and then going to the show, and then trying to put on the best match that I could put on, because, if I wasn't wrestling Trevor, I had to either go before or follow, and it was like, all right, well, he gonna have the best match. Let me go out here and try to have the best match that I can have, and that the crowd still gonna get behind. So a lot of times people get caught up in that too. It's like, oh, he's gonna have the best match. Well, you can't get caught up in that. You got to go out there and put on the best match that you can, because you are not him. He is not you. So you have to do, like, that's why you have to, like, a lot of times, like, even another guy, Manny Garcia, No Way Jose, he was another guy that was up there and train and grit and grind, and he was like, he would go in there and he helped make us better too. Like, there was just learning stuff from those different guys, and when they come in and like I said, man, you just want to, like, I just want to represent the company that made me the wrestler that I am. Mm-hmm. And when I go out here to these other shows, and the people are like, guys are asking, who trained by Ace Guy? Who trained the great Ace Guy? And I would tell them about that, and tell them where I was trained, and they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that, and just try to represent, just being, a professional in the ring, and being a professional outside the ring and doing good business. You know, that's also another thing about understanding, because the Ace God, you know, I told you who his favorite wrestlers were, you know, growing up, and then getting into wrestling a little bit more, you start watching more guys and different guys, and you start learning from them, and you start studying the game a little bit differently, and you know, growing up, it's like, okay, I want to wrestle like this and do all the cool moves and do all that. But you're like, yeah, I still want to do that stuff, but I want it to make sense in the story. If I can tell a story and still implement all this stuff, the crowd's going to react off of that. I feel even a decibel more than they would if there was no substance behind it, and then the move was just going to get over on its own.
And that's one thing that I appreciate about you too, is that you're a tremendous babyface, but one thing I really enjoy about you is your work as a heel, because you do elicit that emotion, and you are able to pull something from a crowd that a lot of people can't pull. Talk about your work as a babyface and especially as a heel, and talk about how what you like about each and what you feel like you can pull from each.
Well, you know, the Ace God as a babyface, he was just a very bull in the china shop, throw you around, slam you around, and the crowd loves that type of stuff. I mean, people want to boo Brock Lesnar, but they can't because he's throwing everybody around the ring, and people love that. So it's just the babyface. I really enjoyed it at the time being, and I enjoyed being a babyface. I enjoyed being out there, and especially the guys, you know, the guys that I work with, I couldn't have, you know, especially starting off, like I started off working with, like, the top heels in the company. So, like, in CWF, I started off working with the top heels, and I think some people, you know, a lot of times starting off when you're a young guy, and you get that opportunity, it could go to your head. It could go to your head. And for myself, I always tried to humble myself and make sure I humbled myself because of situations like that. Because they could have picked anybody else, but they saw something in me to work with me. And so it was, you know, when I get opportunities like that, it just makes me want to work harder, because I don't want to lose that opportunity. I want to gain more opportunities off of that. So just, you know, being being a baby face, especially starting off, like it was they knew what they were doing, because, you know, I went in there, I threw some people around, I clothesline them, crowd goes crazy, I give them some big move, crowd goes nuts, 1, 2, 3. But also, as a baby face, you don't really get to like direct as much traffic as you would like to. And more too, as a baby face, you got to have a good heel to work with. If the heel's not generating any like heat or anything like that, then it's going to be harder for you as a baby face to generate that reaction from the crowd, you know. And also, you know, it's also being a babyface. I was a babyface for the first 8 years of my career. So being a babyface, you know, you got to be able to, you know, to evolve and adapt and try to, you know, adapt as a character and as a wrestler and not just fail. And sometimes the crowd will get tired of you. And then, you know, a lot of times, you know, I was watching a Ric Flair interview with Stone Cold. He was like, the crowd will tell you what they want. And, you know, I was going out there, and the crowd was telling us, like, all right, we're kind of tired of seeing Eric as babyface. We want to see something different. We want to see, you know, starting to get some boos. So, you know, I remember I was told starting, it was like, you'll never be a heel. You'll always be a babyface. And it got to the point where, you know, I remember talking to Coach Jim and I, talking to Jet, and I said, Jeff, I think it's time for me to be healed now. And then he was like, I agree. I think it is time. And once he said that, I was like, what? Because you told me that you owe me that. So when he said that, I was like, all right, well, we're off and running. Because, like, I'm an observant person. I'm an observer. So, ACEGAWD sits back in that locker room. He's looking at, okay, as a heel, who could I work with and get over as far as, like, young guys, and then also reversing the roles in some of the matches that, giving a fresh twist on some of these matches that we've had before. So, and that was my thing. Like, I didn't just want to turn heel and then be like, okay, here I am. Like, I wanted to come with a plan. I was like, I'm going to be heel. This is the plan, and like, that's like one of the things before, I went to Brad, and I always presented my stuff to Brad and Jeff because, like, yeah, Brad was the booker. He was, but things still, Justin had to, see things too because, in reality, it's really his name on the line, because it's him and Dane's company. So, I ran it by both of them, and they both dug it, and they both loved it. And the story that we told in that Weaver Cup with, me and Ray losing the tag titles, and then, both trying to win that Weaver Cup, and then me slowly just being more dastardly and being more aggressive and vicious, and finally getting to the finals with the big underdog, Nick Richards. And I think a lot of people thought that I was going to win again. And, I should have won. Nick got lucky. But going into that match, I knew. I was like, okay, the crowd's already behind. They're behind Nick. They want Nick to win this match. They don't want me to win. And that's fine because I'm still going to get that reaction. I'm going to give these people the best match that Nick has ever had. Like, that was my whole goal. If this is Nick's night, then you picked the right person.
He's going to peak.
Yeah. Because I was going to make sure that I did everything in my power to make Nick Richards look legitimate and look like he was the Weaver Cup champion. Because, fun fact about that show, Trevor and Drew were not there. I think Trevor was at PWG. So, we had to carry the card. And a lot of people were already skeptical. It was like, oh man, can Nick carry the show without Trevor? And I'm like, dude, like, I felt some type of way about that personally. Because, before Trevor was the champion and the long range champion, it was me. I was the man. Yeah. And I was already doing this stuff. So, I felt some type of way about that. And, Nick, who's been wrestling longer than me, like, we had it set as like, we're gonna tell this awesome story. And that's probably one of my top 5 all-time favorite matches that I've had was that match because of the story we told and just the reaction that the crowd had at the finish and just what led after that as far as even my transition. That established the ACEGAWD as a full-fledged heel that match. And the reason I did it that way is because it's funny because 10 years before that, they did a Weaver Cup tournament and Gemini Kid, he turned heel the same way in the tournament. So he won the tournament. I was like, I want to do the same thing, but I lose.
Oh, interesting.
Just because I knew, I was like, okay, they're behind Nick, especially all the stuff that he went through before with Lee and the Riot. I was like, they're behind him. And I know, like, y'all, like, I want to sound cocky, but I was just very confident in what I was able to accomplish or what I knew what I could accomplish with Nick. And, we went out there, wrestled for 35 minutes and told a great, I feel like we told a great story. And, the finish will let you know that that's what happened. So, Yeah.
You were the last CWF champion, right?
I was, and then Roy beat me. So
Oh, did he?
Roy,
Okay, I didn't realize Roy beat you. I'm sorry.
Roy is the last CWF Mid-Atlantic heavyweight champion.
I thought you were. I'm sorry. So
Yeah.
who has the belt right now?
I think it is in the hands of William L. Cross.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know. The running joke was that Trevor has it down in developmental. So
Yeah. No. He's up here.
Yeah, good to know.
But
Good to
I
know.
mean, you know, if we were ever in dire straits, like I think we know who we could call to make things right. So
I'm just saying, you got to defend that thing.
Yeah.
Tell Roy to defend that thing. Yeah. So you're establishing your name. You're the action champion now. You had a long run in CWF. One thing we're really looking forward to is the Scenic City Invitational in my neck of the woods, Chattanooga, where I will gladly play host to you and any you bring along. Talk to me about looking forward to that and what you. This is your first SCI, isn't it?
Actually, this is my second SCI.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
I was the 2017.
That's right.
Phoenix City Invitational. I was a part of. I wrestled Dominic Guarini in the first round.
That's right.
And then wrestled Kurt Stallion. So I made it past the first round, and then wrestled Kurt Stallion in the second round and came up short. So this is for your ACEGAWD, for your action heavyweight champion to be in this tournament and to get another opportunity to be in this tournament is an honor. But it's not only my honor, it is the SCI's honor. Because they have such a great talent back for their tournament. Now, with that all being said, the ACEGAWD has one goal in mind, and that is to win the Scenic City Invitational and to prove to the world, to prove to all the independent professional wrestling, all the professional wrestling, that he is unequivocally and undoubtedly one of the best wrestlers in the entire universe. And he's going to prove that point the weekend of August 6th and 7th. Because for a long time, 13 years, ACEGAWD's been cutting his teeth. And he's beaten some of the best wrestlers in the world, or some people consider best wrestlers in the world, some of the top independent wrestlers in the world. And now we're going into this tournament. We got guys like John Davis. We got guys like Jeremy White. We got guys like young guys like Alex Kane and young guys like Daniel Garcia. We got vets like Cabana and Mandan. We got tough guys like Brett Eisen and Graham Bell, who he's going to get redacted on August 5th, the night before. There's so many other names in this tournament. The Big Beast, AC Mack, the man who the ACEGAWD defeated for the Action Wrestling Heavyweight title, he's in it. And then the ACEGAWD's, one of the ACEGAWD's close buddies and the former wrestling genius, Daniel McCabe, will also be in this tournament. And the ACEGAWD just wants to prove to the world, because it seems like after Have Fun Be Sad, you know, instead of the adulation and the acknowledgement that the ACEGAWD should have gotten for beating one of the best wrestlers in the world, for beating the wrestling genius, it still seems like ACEGAWD is getting slided a little bit.
In what basically was a match of the year, by the way.
And you see that? And who won the match?
I'm looking at him.
Exactly. For some strange reason, the ACEGAWD is still not getting the buzz that he feels like he should get. Also, Logan Creed, the man who literally tried to cheat his way to the Action Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, that heathen, tried to pay Matt Sells to screw the ACEGAWD out of his championship. He'll be in the tournament as well. And if you look back and you look at the Liz Manders, you look at the people in it, ACEGAWD is beating a few of those people. But that's not to say, just because the ACEGAWD is beating those people doesn't mean that the ACEGAWD is looking past those people. No. ACEGAWD has always got his eye on the prize. And the first round matchup that he has is against another champion of the South, another man that's been doing this for a long time, and Derek Neal, the New South Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, which is another place that ACEGAWD is trying to get his foot into. But, Derek Neal, he's been doing this a long time. He's found his niche. He's one of the toughest guys in professional wrestling. And for his size, he moves like a cat. That's something ACEGAWD can really, really, really dig, But Derek, come August 6th, champion versus champion. Who's going to be the greatest champion? Who's going to be the best champion in the South when that match is over? That match is said and done. Is it going to be you and your strap? Or is it going to be the ACEGAWD coming in all his glory with new robes, new strip, new swag? This is SCI, baby. So ACEGAWD, you know he's going to have new swag. So he's only going to walk in with the confidence. But, like you said, he's not looking past Derek Neal. He's looking right at Derek Neal. He knows the task at hand. He knows how tough the task at hand is. And ACEGAWD has been looking forward to this match with Derek Neal for a very, very long time. And the ACEGAWD is going to prove to the world and prove to everybody that he is going to put on a match, put on a show like you have never seen in your entire life. Because the ACEGAWD, that's what the ACEGAWD does. The ACEGAWD.
I love it. Absolutely love it. And that'll be the Phoenix City Invitational at the TW Arena in Chattanooga, Tennessee, coming up in less than 3 weeks. Cannot wait. This is the highlight of my year. I absolutely am just elated at the talent that's going to be there, including the ACEGAWD, but especially the ACEGAWD.
Yeah,
and
it's I'm
top of the list.
I'm ready. I'm ready, man. There's this ACEGAWD has, ACEGAWD normally has a chip on his shoulder, but for this tournament, the chip is a little bit bigger. It's a little bit bigger. He's gonna come in there with some gumption. He's gonna come in there with a point to prove, and no matter what it takes, he's going to prove that point. And that point is that the ACEGAWD rules. Period, point blank, plain and simple. And if you don't, you may not like it, but you're going to respect it, and you better get used to it, ladies and gentlemen.
One quick thing before we do the plugs. I have remarked that you are the most fashionable man in wrestling. And where do you find these garments? What is the key to your fashion? Were you born with it? Is it something that you acquired over time? What you wear to the ring is frankly divinely inspired. It's beautiful, man. It's just tear to my eye.
Well, you see, Ben, the ACEGAWD can't just be giving away where he gets all his garb from. He gets it handmade. He gets it handmade, and he gets it sent into him fresh from overseas, sometimes from India, sometimes from Africa, but he gets them sent fresh to him. The finest garbs, the finest cloth, because that's what deserves to be on the ACEGAWD's body. And so, the way I got this style, the way the ACEGAWD got this style and this fashion and this fashion sense, growing up as a young ACEGAWD, his family, his parents, his parental units, they've always had that sense of fashion and always were down with the times. The ACEGAWD, he grew up in the 90s, and that was one of the highest times for fashion. So
the highest.
Highest. Yeah. So, like the ACEGAWD, he's got that fashion sense. He's gonna go out there and he's gonna wear what people wouldn't dare to wear, but he's gonna make it look as great as he makes it, and you see it, and you already admire it and respect it, and you see, because nobody does it like ACEGAWD.
Well, where can people find ACEGAWD? Where can people book ACEGAWD? Where can people just see these garments and this wrestling and experience what there is to experience of the ACEGAWD?
You can find the ACEGAWD Well, you can find him next. He'll be in Norfolk, Virginia, July 31st for VCW, taking on Joe Keys. So that's another big match that ACEGAWD. Yeah, Joe Keys. He was down there at Action once before, and ACEGAWD knows that Joe Keys isn't a slouch. ACEGAWD, like you said earlier about guys that have been putting in work. And, I remember when Joe Keys put some work in. He put some major work in. He's gotten in great shape. He's jacked. ACEGAWD remembers when Joe Keys didn't look like that. ACEGAWD, now Joe's Keys.
Jacked, man. Joe's jacked.
He's focused. He has a mission. But his mission on July 31st is just not going to be accomplished. ACEGAWD's going to drop him. He's going to show you who he is. He's going to show Joe Keys who the ACEGAWD is. And if Joe Keys doesn't know, well, guess what? The ACEGAWD, he's going to find out July 31st. And then, after that, the biggest weekend in Chattanooga, Tennessee history, one of the biggest weekends in wrestling history, you will find the ACEGAWD in Chattanooga for the Scenic City Invitational the night before for TWE, which the ACEGAWD made his debut for not too long ago, and you will see that soon on IWTV when he went one-on-one with Brett Eisen.
And this is Thursday, August 5th, by the way.
This is Thursday, August 5th. You are correct, Benjamin. And then Friday is the start of the Scenic City Invitational, and ACEGAWD's already touched on his opponent, Derek Neal. ACEGAWD has a lot of respect for Derek Neal, but just like the rest of them, Derek Neal got to get dropped because there's one mission, and that's one mission, one goal, and that's to win the Scenic City Invitational.
And you don't want to be going into prom on Friday night, you want to be going into prom on Friday night victorious, so.
Exactly. Going to the prom and and the ACEGAWD's already been to a prom before. He went to a prom, and the ACEGAWD's going to be one of those, this is the prom where ACEGAWD's going to be sitting on the wall with all the cool kids, sitting in the corner. Or, ACEGAWD might be outside, but, sometimes we're
yeah.
ACEGAWD, I'm not saying the ACEGAWD's going to be with the degenerates because, the ACEGAWD is above that.
There will be a few degenerates there, but there will be some cool people there as well.
ACEGAWD will be around. He'll make his presence felt at the prom, but especially if he's victorious, which he will be.
Yes.
And then we go into August 21st, and there's a possibility that ACEGAWD could be making a debut right here in Burlington for Icon Pro Wrestling. So, keep an eye on that. And then the week after that, ACEGAWD will be back for AML Wrestling in Winston-Salem. Oh, and I forgot to mention, after the SCI,
August 13th,
after the Scenic City Invitational, a match that will put the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks to shame when your ACEGAWD and Mr. Number One, Jaden Newman, go take on a tag match with two of the biggest degenerates, the biggest heathens that the ACEGAWD has ever seen in his life. And that's Matt Sales and Logan Creed.
August 13th, Tyrone, Georgia, Action Arena.
Tyrone, Georgia. You see, the ACEGAWD, for a long time, and I hope people hear this, the ACEGAWD has been, that's been eating at him ever since that happened. You can go watch that match on IWTV, Action Wrestling's Game Over, and you can see just the amount of just
frustration,
the amount of just shenanigans, the amount of just of all the obstacles thrown at the ACEGAWD by the people of Tyrone, Georgia. Matt Sales comes out as a referee when the ACEGAWD had the match won. He had Logan Creed beat with the ACEGAWD's curse. And then all of a sudden, you hear a 2 count, and then you turn around, and Matt Sales' drunk ass is out there with the referee shirt on. And then people want to ask Jaden Newman why he did what he did. Jaden Newman did the right thing. He saw a wrong being had, and he went out there and he made it right. So this match, August 13th, one of the biggest matches in Action Wrestling history, one of the biggest tag matches in Action Wrestling history, you are going to see two of the greatest wrestlers, two of the best wrestlers, especially a guy like Jaden Newman, who the Ace God really respects. Because he is a guy that works really hard and he busts his ass. So this match,
Can vouch.
won, and will be dedicated to not only Mr. Number One, Jaden Newman, but it will be dedicated to your Action Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. We dedicate this match to ourselves, and then we owe it to ourselves to beat those two clowns into oblivion, and you will witness it all August 13th as you see the biggest tag match in Action Wrestling history. Because you know why? Because the Action Wrestling Heavyweight Champion is in the match. So that's why it's the biggest match, tag match in Action Wrestling history.
Hey, Scott, thank you so much. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for imparting some wisdom. How can people find you to book you and to bring you to bring a little Ace God into their lives?
You can find the Ace God. You can book him on Twitter at Big Arik Royal. DM him there. You can find him on Instagram at Ace_Royal11. Instagram. You can find him on Facebook. I mean, Facebook. Come on now. You can find him on Facebook under Arik Royal, and you can send him a message on there, or you can email the Ace God at it's a weird email. Ace God might have to change it. It's at SUGAB51@gmail.com. SugarB51@gmail.com. All right, Ace God, book the Ace God. You want the Ace God in your town because he's gonna bring the best out of whoever you put in front of him, and that is a 100% guarantee.
Ace God, thank you so much, my friend. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Benjamin, thank you, sir, and I hope. The Ace God hopes that you have a wonderful evening. You should have one now because you got to spend a lot of time with the Ace God. So, yeah.